Dear students, let us continue our learning the core system software and the compilers. This is the 8th session of the module 4. The topics covered under this session are using Yawk, what Yawk cannot parse, a Yawk parser, that is the definition section, the rule section, the lexer, and compiling and running a simple parser, along with it arithmetic expression and ambiguity. Myself, Dr. Suresh Adi from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Kendra Engineering College, Bantwal, Mangalore. To start with, Yawk, what Yawk cannot pass. So mainly if we go to the Yawk parser, there are two limitations are there. The first one is it cannot parse an ambiguous grammar. It cannot parse an ambiguous grammar. So this ambiguity we have learned in our automata theory. First let us recall that one, what the ambiguous grammar is. So let me take the grammar as S derives E plus E. Let me take the grammar as E derives E plus E or E minus E or just an identifier over there. If my expression is ID plus ID minus ID. So now if I start up this one, so first E derives, I will apply E plus E. Then for the first E, I will apply it as ID. Then for the second E, I will apply E derives E minus E. For the second E, I will apply ID. And for the last E, I will apply ID. So now I got my input stream. What is our input stream? ID plus ID minus ID. If I go for applying in the other way, what is that one? E derives, I will first apply the minus over there. That is a E minus E. Next, I will apply for this E, I will apply E derives E plus E. Then this E derives ID. Second E derives ID. And the last E derives ID. Now in this case, so if you observe clearly over here, so in this case, in both the cases, I am deriving ID plus ID minus ID. Here also it is ID plus ID minus ID. So I am getting the same input stream. What is our input stream? ID plus ID minus ID. But I am generating the two parse trees over here. For the same input stream, I am getting the two parse trees. So such an grammar we called as the ambiguous grammar. Such grammars it cannot parse. First one, that is the Yawk cannot parse the ambiguous grammar. Yawk cannot parse the ambiguous grammar. Then the second one, it cannot parse the look ahead grammar. What is that look ahead grammar? Let us see. The look ahead grammars. So let me take one simple example. S derives A and the terminals, let me take it as B and E over here. And the other one is B, B and the Y. So then this A derives small a and this B derives small a. So now if my input is A, B, E, then which production should it take? The question is which production should it take? So which production should it take? So actually with our natural intelligence, we can say that I need to take this production. That is, S derives A, B and the E, and this A derives small e. So that is my input will be ABE to be generated over here. Means I need to take this production. But for selecting that production, if you observe, the first symbol is same, A. It is matching in both the cases. The second symbol is same. The decision is based on the very look ahead symbol, the third symbol. The decision is based on the third symbol over there. That is your look ahead symbol. Look ahead means in front. It is too far from us. So for the decision is to be done based on that one. So these cases where the look ahead is needed, in those cases we cannot do this one. In those cases we cannot do this one. We need to alter. So this is not allowed. So means the first case we can't have the ambiguous grammar. Then the next one where the look ahead is needed, so that we cannot handle. So these are the two limitations for the Yacc parser. In these two cases, the Yacc cannot be used. The first case when the grammar is ambiguous, for that one we need to apply the ambiguity, removing the ambiguity rules. Then next will be the when the grammar is a look ahead. When the grammar needs to be look ahead, again we cannot use the Yacc. So now how to handle that look ahead case? Let us just see how to handle the look ahead case. So now to handle this look ahead case, how it can be written? The grammar can be written as S derives, let it be X, E, first case, or X, E, or I can have your Y and the Y. Then this X can be, let me rewrite it, let me erase this one. It is a XE or XY. Then this X can be, this X we can write it as it both are same, right? That is A, B over there. So now again on the very next symbol, on the very next E we can make the decision. The common symbols we can group, the common thing we can group. Fine. So that will avoid our look ahead. Just at the looking at the next symbol, that is a E, we can make the decision over there. There we need a for look ahead. Here that much is not needed. The common thing we are grouping over there. So that is this can be applied for altering this look ahead cases. That is this is the main limitation with the Yacc parsers. The Yacc cannot parse the ambiguous grammar, and the Yacc cannot parse the where the look ahead is needed. Where the look ahead is needed. Fine. So now if you look at the example which is given in the textbook. Fine. The first one is the grammar. It cannot parse the ambiguous grammar. It cannot deal with the ambiguous grammar. This you have to remember. Fine. Then the second one is where we need the look ahead over there. Now if you look at this grammar example over here, phrase derives cart animal and cart, work animal and plow. Cart animal can be an horse or the goat, work animal can be an horse or the ox. So now if my input is horse and cart, so now what is the route I need to take? I need to take the first one, that is the cart animal, then the and the cart. Now the decision I can't make it on the next symbol. It should be depending on the third symbol over there, cart. So this is not allowed. This is not allowed, right? So that is it can't tell when my input is a horse and the cart. It cannot tell whether the horse is a cart animal or the work animal until we decide it as a cart. Here lost. Until we see the cart, we can't make the decisions. Such conditions we cannot handle. That is, Yacc cannot look ahead that far ahead over there. So these two things you need to be careful when you are dealing with the Yacc. That is, we cannot handle the ambiguous grammar and you cannot have the too much far apart look ahead symbol. It cannot handle. Fine. Then the next one, the Yacc parser. How the Yacc parser will be written. Fine. A Yacc parser, again it will have the three different sections over there. So three different sections will be there. The first one will be your definition section. So your definition section, again it will start from your percentage open and percentage close, then I need to list the tokens from the legs. So what are all the tokens we are receiving from the legs? That list we need to make. So till there, it will be your definition section. Fine. So as we discussed earlier, even this Yawk program is converted into a C file called y.tab.c. It will be converted into a C file called y.tab.c. The contents of this definition section is directly written over there. It will be directly written over there. Fine. Then the next one, the role section. In the role section of the lecture, there are two parts we have seen. One is the pattern and the action. One is the pattern and the action. Here it is in place of pattern, this will be the grammar and the action, that's it. In place of pattern, here it will be the grammar and the action. So now if you observe over here, how the grammars are written. So first will be the tokens from the lecture are a name and a number. It is the same old example what we used in the earlier example. So statement, in place of arrow, we are using a colon over here, name, and a token. Token, we are enclosing the single quotes. If the tokens are used directly, you should enclose them in the single quotes. And the name is one more token. Fine. So for the name, we are returning it as a name. But when we use the operator, that operator is directly sent from the legs to the Yawk. Directly sent from the legs to the Yawk. So we are using the single quotes for the tokens. Fine. So for the token handling, there are two mechanisms are there. So one will be by using the return statement. So we are returning it as one name over there. Suppose the token for A to Z. So for the token for A to Z, I am written it as the name over there. It is a name, N-A-M-E. Fine. Then if for the operator, what are the possibilities? So that is I can have the plus, minus, star, slash. If I am using these operators. And if we return the tokens directly over there, return the token directly. Where the tokens are stored in your YY text, right? So I will return it as a YY text. YY text, it is a single operator. So single character, I will use the index as 0 over there. So now there are two ways, with the two ways I am returning the values from the lecture. Either this way, even this is allowed, that is a name. I am giving a name for this alphabet, right? So alphabet is a name over there, that is a variable name. I am giving the token name. Even this is also a token. And even these are also tokens. What are the cases over here? Here it is a plus, minus, star, and the slash. Even this is also a token. Here I am giving a name for the token. What is the name of that one? Name, N-E-M-E. In the same way, number. That is for the 0 to 9, we can call it as a number. But here I am directly passing those tokens to the Yawk directly as a YY text of 0. We are not giving any name. The token is passed directly over there. So now when I give like this, these tokens are to be included in the here, percentage token here. But when we pass them directly over here, no need to include. Here you need to use the single quotes over there. To handle the plus, it should be enclosed in the single quotes. To handle the minus, it should be enclosed in the single quotes of the grammar. These are the two ways with which we can handle the tokens from the lectures. These are the two ways with which we handle the tokens from the lectures. Either we give the name for the token, or we'll pass the token itself directly, and we will handle them with the single quotes. And when we go for this one, this is a question always. Fine. Whenever we have the operators, each operator I can't have a common name over there because their meanings are different. Plus is meant for addition, minus is meant for subtraction, and your star is meant for multiplication, slash is meant for division. So in those cases, I can't group all and I can't send it as an operator over there because they have a different meaning. But if I use the variables and all, how the variables will be? First, it should be an alphabet. Then it should be an alphabet or the digit. It should be an alphabet or the digit. In all these cases, I can call them as a variable names. Variable names. Wherein sending the separate is not needed. But wherever we need to send them separately, in those cases, it is better to follow this approach. That is the second approach. It is better to follow this approach. Fine. So this is the grammar which has been written over there. The next one. Then the next will be the expression derives a number plus number, or the expression derives a number minus the number and the values. Fine. Then each symbol will be associated, each grammar will be associated with a value over there. Each grammar is associated with a value. Suppose if I go for recognizing as a 12 plus 83. 12 plus 83 if I use. So 12 is a number. 83 is also a number. Does both are same? No, they are different, right? So they are different over there. So that is 12 has a value of 12 and 83 is having a different value 83. These two values are not same. Even though the names are same. What are the names? The name is number. The name is number. Well, 12 is also a number, 83 is also a number. 12 is also a number as well as 83 also a number. But when we go with their values, there the problem starts. Fine. So that is, we need to handle it. I can't just call it as a number and I can't leave. So when I need to go for solving this one, I need what I need. I need the value of it. I need the value of it. To handle those values, here the concept of the symbol value comes over there. That is, each symbol in a YAG parser might have a value. Each symbol in the YAG parser might have a value. That is, for the number we have to take the example. In the same way, that is, character strings may be different. In many cases. In many cases, along with the name for the token, we need the value for the token. We need the value for the token. To solve any expression, any arithmetic expression, we need the value. To handle those values, we will go with the concept of the YYS type. That is a YY is this is a new one what we are introducing. That is a YY is our prefix. S means symbol. Type is a TYP. What is our symbol type? Symbol type, whether it is an integer, whether it is an floating point number, what it is. Fine. That will be defined with the help of the union over there. So union, structure and the union, these are the two basic primitive keywords which we use in the C language, you know. The structure means what? Each individual item have a separate storage. Union means it will have a common storage and the size of the union will be the size of the largest element. Right? So here we are going to use the union it is used because in one time only one prototype is active, not all. Even though we can have the integer as well as the floating point numbers, but in one type either we go with the integer numbers or the floating point numbers, not both. That's why we make the union over there. So it will be created with the union. That is, to handle this one, the first one is YYS type we are going to have. Fine. The next one. So now if you observe it, now the tokens are name and the number. Here, statement derives name equal to expression and the expression. Expression can be an expression plus number, expression minus number or the number. Right? So now if my input is 12 plus 23 minus 18. So how it will be done? First example, how it will be done. Fine. So now when we go for solving this one, first will be your expression derives expression plus number. So if I use this one, so expression derives what? Expression plus number. This will be expression plus number. So number will be the your case. Fine. So now if I go for solving this, if I go with the count of this one, so this is my first argument. This is my second argument. This is my third argument. So this is my total. This is my left hand side. So if I take up the arrow symbol over there, if I take up the arrow symbol, this is the first argument. This is the second argument. It is the third argument. So what I need to do? First argument is to be added with the third argument. I hope you are following. So the first argument is to be added with the third argument over there. These arguments in the legs will be prefixed with the dollar symbol. It will be nothing but $1 plus the $3. Each argument in the legs and the YAG program will be prefixed with the dollar symbols. Each one will be prefixed with the dollar symbols over there. Fine. So now to hold this result. So how to hold this result? The result will be stored in there is no position wise. This will be the $. That is $1 will be equal to $1 plus $3 for this one. If I take up this one, So this is $1 minus $3. That is dollar will be equal to $1 minus the $3. If it is just a number, so number means only one argument, $1, that will be copied to the $. So now when I go for this one, this is a expression. Here we have our result. What is the count over there? 1. That is we are printing the result as a $1 over there. Fine. So this is how we pass the values to the parser. How we pass the values to the parser? Using the built-in keyword YYS type. Using the built-in keyword YYS type, we are going to pass the value to the parser. And along with it, YYLVAL is used. YYLVAL is used for the lex value. It stands for your lex val is used. Fine. That is these two things newly we are adding. So when we write the lex program, it will be clear. Fine. And the name of the token is number. Name of the token is a number. So these grammar rules, they work with the concept of your positional arguments. They work with the concept of the positional arguments over there. That is from the right side. That is the body of the production you have to start on. First one will be the $1 plus $3. Next grammar, $1 minus $3. Next one, only $1. Result will be copied to the $. In all the cases. Result is copied to the $. $. Will be equal to $1 plus $3. Second one will be $. Will be equal to $1 minus $3. And the third one is $. Will be equal to $1. Fine. So now when we go for writing the lexer for it, for solving my arithmetic expression, so when I go for writing the lexer for it, so how it will be? So lexer should feed the values to the parser with the help of the symbol table. This we have already learned. So what is our example? That is a equal to 12 plus 23 minus 18. Now the tokens are here. This is the name. This is the number. This is the number. This is the 18. So now the tokens for what? First one is a 12. So 12 is a number. What is the value of it? Value is 12. Then the next one is a 23. 23 is a number. What is the value of it? 23. Next one, number. What is the value of it? That is 18. That is, now we need to, along with the passing the token, so that is your symbol table. Along with passing the token, I need to pass the value of the token. For that, what I need? I need the symbol table. What is our symbol table? It is our y.tab.h. What is that one? That is a y.tab.h is the symbol table which is meant for your lexer parser communication. Now if I go with the lex part of it. Fine. So now in the earlier I told, what are the things I told? YYS type I told. So this is to be included in the YAG program. That is a symbol type I need to include in the YAG program. And along with it, I told that the lex value, that is YYLVAL I told, if you remember. YYLVAL. So YYS type is your symbol type. YYLVAL is your lex value. So this is an union I told, if you remember. This is an union. So now in the lex part, so first we are including the header file. What is our symbol table? What is the symbol table over there? Y.tab.h. Y.tab.h is the symbol table what it has been included. Fine. Then next one, your lex value. What is the lex value over there? Here we are working with the 12 plus 23 minus 18. So 12 is an integer, 23 is also an integer, and 18 is also an integer. So we are calling it as an integer over there. Even you can have the float over there. If you want to use your float, you can. In our lab programs, I think we are using the float over there. Then next, what is the integer over there? So 0 to 9 plus. 0 to 9 plus. So this is for this is the regular expression for the integer, right? So this we already know. That is any followed by any number of digits, at least one digit is making an integer. So in that case, I am returning it as a number. So this is the token what we are returning. What is the value of it? That value I need to pass it through the YYLVAL. The value of the token, I need to pass it with the YYLVAL. It stands for lex value. That's it. Lex value. YY lexical value what we are passing. So as you all know that whatever we type from the keyboard will be taken as a ASCII character. From that ASCII, suppose 12 is there. So 12 will be taken as a ASCII character over there. If you go with the actual ASCII, what it is? 1 will be stored as a in hexadecimal 31, 12 will be stored as a hexadecimal value 32. From this ASCII value, I need to get the integer value over there. From this ASCII value, I need to get the integer value over there. For that one, I will use the function a to I. That is your ASCII to integer conversion. So what this will do? So this will convert our ASCII values. The number 12 is stored as a 31 and the 32 because when we type anything from the keyboard, which will be taken as an ASCII value. So from that ASCII value, we are extracting the integer value over there. That is a to I, ASCII to integer conversion. What to convert? YY text. What YY text will have? It will have the match token. This YY text will have the match token. Whatever the token we are matching. In our case, it is a 12 plus 23 minus 18. So now 12 matches over here. So this 12 matches over here. So 12 matches. That 12 will be stored in the YY text. We are returning it as a number. The token is number. But the value of it, what is the value of it? The value of it is 12, which will be passed with the help of the YYL value. It will be passed with the help of the YYL value. Then next, space or the tab, do nothing, just ignore the semicolon. On the enter key, we are closing, that is written 0. On enter key, once I press the enter key from the keyboard, it will return 0, means we will end. Then these cases, plus, minus, star, and all these characters, we are returning them directly. That is written YY text of 0. That's what I told. In the return, there are two options are there. Here you can see one option. We are returning it as a number, a token. As a token, we are returning. We are returning that value itself, that character itself we are returning. Now, if I get the plus over there, it should be enclosed in the single quotes. If I get the minus, it should be enclosed in the single quotes. If I get the star, it should be enclosed in the single quotes. Fine. Next one. So this will be regarding the lex part over there. This will be regarding the lex part. Fine. So now when I go for running this one, so these are the commands what we use, and these commands we have already practiced. The first command will convert this file into your C file. The C file over there y.tab.c. The second command lex filename.l. This will convert into the lex.yy.c. Then we are going to compile it, and we give the different object file over there. That is cc-c file name. Then these commands. What is it for now? y.tab.c space lex.yy.c space hyphen link the Yacc library, link the lex library. Link the files. So ly stands for link the Yacc libraries, link the lex libraries. Then next you run this command. So what is the exe file? ch3 of 1. So this when we run, it will ask for the input 99 plus 12. When I press the enter key, the result will be 111 over there. Fine. So this is how the arithmetic calculator. This is how the calculator function is built. This is how the calculator function is built. Fine. So this will be regarding a simple Yacc program, which is meant for solving the arithmetic expressions. Fine. So now let us go with the next concept, that is your arithmetic expressions and the ambiguity. And if you have any doubt in these sessions, you can either text to my email ID, or you can call to my number, which is available in the college site. Fine. Then the next one, arithmetic expressions and the ambiguity. So this is one of the most crucial problem in any programming language, handling the ambiguity. In handling the ambiguity, here we are using again the arithmetic expression. The grammar is a E expression I am writing as a E in short. It is a E plus E or E minus E or E star E or expression divided by the expression or your single what do you call that is a negation, E minus E, or we can have the open parenthesis E and the close parenthesis, or it can be a number. It can be a single number. So this is the grammar. This is the grammar what we are using. So this is for addition. How it will be $1 plus $3, $1 minus $3, $1 multiplication is star $3. For division, you have to check this $3. If $3 equal to 0, it leads to infinity. Anything by 0 is infinity. That you have to check. If $3 equal to 0, give the error message. Why error? What is that message? You are trying to divide by 0. If $3 is not equal to 0, then $1 divided by $3. Minus means it will be dollar will be equal to minus $2. Then parenthesis $1, $2, $3. Where is our value expression? $2. Dollar will be equal to $2. In the next one, dollar will be equal to $1. So now I need to solve this expression. Now I need to, this is the grammar what I use. So now when we call the grammar as ambiguous grammar, so when for a definite input, let the input be 2 plus 3 star 5. If I am able to get two parse trees, if I am able to get two parse trees for this grammar, then I say that the grammar is ambiguous. Then I can say that the grammar is ambiguous. So now how to solve this one? It can be E derives. First I will apply E derives, E plus E. Then this E derives number is my number is 2. Then this E derives again E star E. Again this E derives number is 3, and this E derives the number is 5. Right? So now if I go for writing if I try to generate the other parse tree, again E derives. Now I will apply the star first. E derives E star E. For the first E I will apply E derives E plus E. Again this E derives 2, this E derives 3, this E derives 5. So now in this case what we are doing, in the first case, first we are solving the star, then we are adding to the 2. In the second case what we are doing, first we are doing the addition, followed by the result will be equal to multiplied by the 5. So now in the first one, what is will be our result? First we multiply 2 into 3, that is 15. 15 plus 2, 17. This will be the result. In the second case, 2 plus 3, 5, multiplied by 5, 25. This will be the result. Fine. So now which is the correct one? So as with our natural intelligence, we can say that 17 is the correct answer because we know the operators and the precedence. We know the operators and the precedence. Star has the higher precedence. So it need to be solved first, followed by the addition over there. So with our intelligence, we can say. But how the computer will understand? Because it is having the two options over there. It is having the two options, whether to take the first one or the correct one. How it should understand? That is the question. And such grammars, we call them as the ambiguous grammars. Such grammars which generate, this is the grammar, it is the example I have taken. This is the grammar which is leading to the ambiguity. This is the grammar which is leading to the ambiguity, and such grammars we cannot handle. Such grammars we cannot handle. Fine. So now how to solve these cases? That is a big question mark. Fine. For handling these cases, normally we go with the concept of operators and the precedence. We go with the concept of operators and the precedence over there. Fine. So now these are the two parse trees what we are getting for the 2 plus 3 star 4. 2 plus 3 star 4. Two different parse trees we are getting. So now to handle this case, we go with the concept of the operators and the precedence. That is a minute adjustment we will do and we try to solve. So now for this grammar in our previous classes, there are two options are there. So both the options I will tell. First one, we go for prioritizing. So we set the priority over there. First, plus and the minus will be the lower priority. Then next one, star and the slash will be the next level of precedence. Then next will be your parenthesis, unary minus and your number. So I am setting the three different levels of the priority over there. So whatever my earlier grammar was there, that grammar I am splitting into the three components. This is the first component. This is the second component, that is the lowest. This is my lowest precedence. Then this will be my middle precedence. Then this will be my highest precedence. So I am dividing into the precedence. Fine. So now in that precedence, as we learned, fine, the one which is there, now I will go for the E again. So now for this one, I will give the intermediate one. I will call it as the T over here. Then here I will call it as a F over there. Three different. So that's what the earlier production I used to have. That I am splitting into the three different levels of precedence. Low precedence, high precedence and the mid precedence. So this, now I have the two options over here. One is the E and the T. Now where to write E and where to write T? There is a question mark again. Operator is a binary plus. Operator is in a binary plus, but where to write that E and the T? That is a question mark. Shall I write it as E plus T? One option is I will write it as E plus T, and the second option is I will write it as a T plus E. I have the two options now. I have the two options. One is E plus T, other one is E plus T, other one is T plus E. Which one should I write? Which one should I write? Fine. So now for deciding that one, normally we go with that. So this is our precedence. We have divided into the precedence. Once the precedence is done, next we have to design your associativity over there. So now, if I have the 2 plus over here, assume 2 plus 3 plus 5. So which one to be solved first, whether it is 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 5? I need to solve 2 plus 3 first because it is the left associative. So this we have already learnt in our beginning, in our third semester only we have learnt the operators and the precedence. Since plus is the left associative, I need to solve that one first. Means the one which is there on the left side, I need to solve it first. Means this symbol what we are writing, that has to be written on the left side. And on the other side, I need to write the second one. And on the other side, I need to write the second one. The same case will be for your minus also, that is E derives E minus T. Fine, I hope it is clear. Fine, since I have the two options over there, what are the two options? Either it can be an E plus T or it was a T plus E. Either it may be an E plus T or the T plus E. Now in that case, again, which one is correct? To decide that one, we go with the associativity. Since it is left associative, plus is left associative. Since the associativity is left, we put the recursive rule. We put the recursive rule on the left side, you can see. We will put the recursive rule on the left side. So this is wrong. So now we will go with the recursive rule on the left side. Now, next one. Can I have an expression without addition with the just multiplication? Yes, it is possible. So for that case, I will put one direct route to the T. So these are the three different options. E derives E plus T or E minus T or the T. What T is? T is meant for the multiplication and the division. T is meant for the multiplication and the division. Fine. In the same way, I will go to the T. So for the T, I have the two options, whether it is a T star F. So F is the next level of precedence. Whether it is a T star F or the F star T. Again, to make the decision, you need to go with the associative. Again, star is in left associative. Again, star is a left associative. So I need to go for the repetition on the left side. That is T derives T star F. Or one more option is T derives T divided by F. So can I have an expression without the star and the division? Yes, it is possible. I can directly go to the F also over there. Fine. Then next one, F derives. Again, the parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, what I need to have? I need to have an expression. Then your minus, unary minus. So this is minus F. Unary number or the number. Fine. So this is how we can go for dividing a large grammar which was ambiguous into a small component with different levels of precedence and the associativity over there. Fine. So now if I go for taking the grammar rule over there, what is that one? 2 plus 3 star 5. 2 plus 3 star 5. So if I go for writing the tree for this one, parse tree for this one, how it will be? First E derives. For E, do I have a plus in my expression? Yes, I have a plus. So I need to apply this one. E derives E plus T. No other option is possible. This is the only option. Then E derives T, T derives F, F derives my number. F is my number is my 2. Then for this T derives a T star F because star is also there. Then again this T derives F derives the number. What is the number? That is 3. Then for the F derives the number is 5. Number is 5. So this is the only route which is possible. I can't get the two parse trees. I can't write the star at the beginning. When I have the plus over there. Fine. So when I don't have the other option, this is the only parse tree which we can write. So now the grammar is unambiguous grammar. This we have done with the help of the precedence and the associativity rule. So now in this expression, that E represents the expression, T represents your multiplication expression, F represents your primary non-terminal. In place of T, you replace with your multiplication expression, MUL expression. In place of F, you can replace with the primary over there. And this can be handled easily. So this is one way I told. This is one way. This is one way of doing this one. In the other way of doing this one is we can give the associativity and the precedence directly in the program, in the YAG. That flexibility is also there. What is that one? The lower level of precedence. What is that one? Plus and the minus. Next level of precedence, star and the divided by. Then the next level of precedence, that is your unary minus. Now, plus and the minus, they are left associative. I will write it as a left. Star and the division, again, they are also left associative. Unary minus, there is no associativity is there, that is non-associative. One more option was right. If you have the right associative, you can write it as a right associative. And all these symbols have to be prefixed with the your percentage, and they need to be included where we write the tokens. The place where we write the tokens, in that place we have to give these expressions so that no need to divide the grammar. This grammar itself, the Yawk itself will adjust to it. The Yawk itself will adjust to it. So this is how we can go for eliminating the ambiguity from the given expressions. So this is precedence and associativity. They are excellently fit for the arithmetic expressions and your dangling else problem. In the dangling else problem and the associativity, these will fit. In rest of the characters, it won't fit. In rest of the cases. Now, if you go with the complete Yawk program over here, first the tokens are the name and the number. Here we are giving the precedence over there. Minus and the plus, lower precedence, star and the slash, higher precedence. Then the unary minus is the not associative. Highest precedence, but it is not left or the right associative. So now in this case, now the original, the same grammar is written. But now the grammar is a unambiguous grammar because we have defined the precedence and the associativity rule. So with that one we are able to remove the ambiguity from the grammars. We are able to remove the ambiguity from the grammars. Right? Next, when not to use the precedence grammars, the precedence grammars will fit into picture where we have these cases over there. That is what? An ambiguity cases for the arithmetic expression and all. For the rest of the cases, these fitting the precedence rule will not fit. In those cases, we have to go for the other mechanism for removing that one. Only in these two cases, one will be our arithmetic expression, other will be our dangling else. So dangling else means if I have the if, so let me write it at the same level, if, and the else. So now this else is for which if? This one or this one? So whether it is for this if or this if. So such a scenario we call it as the dangling else, such cases. So only for these cases, these precedence rule we can go for the precedence rule. We'll set the precedence for this one. So it will go with the innermost if statement. Right? So only for these two cases it will fit, and in the rest of the cases it will not fit. Right? So I hope I am clear with the topics, and if you have any doubts on these topics, so when we have an online class, you can ask your doubt, or you can message, or you can put a mail to my mail ID, wherein I will be very happy to answer. Fine. The references for this presentation are taken from the textbook Dow Graham, John Levin, Tony Mason, Lex and Yak, O'Reilly Media Publisher, October 2012. Thank you.